Normally, I like showing you guys the latest, best, shiny flagship tech that costs like £1 million and no one can actually afford. This video is a little bit different because, well, this is actually last year's TV. Yep, it's the 75-inch LG QNED MiniLED Quantum Dot TV, which is a bit of a mouthful. But why the heck am I talking about this when it came out last summer in 2021? Well, it's simple really, because the best advice I can give anyone looking to buy a brand new TV is to wait. Unlike smartphones and laptops and actually a lot of consumer tech, TVs are renowned for coming down in price pretty quickly. And so now this QNED 91 has been out for almost a year. It's actually gone down from a whopping £3,700, nearly £4,000 at launch, to just $2,200. And it's even cheaper for LG members on their website. But that is a whopping 40% off in about 10 months. And it's a similar story for the 65-inch model, $2,500 down to $1,500. Which makes a TV like this, which to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't give a second look at that original price. Well, now, if you want a big TV with solid picture quality, all the smarts and streaming apps you could shake a stick at, ready for the summer and the World Cup later this year, well, it's definitely worth considering. Now, a big thank you to LG for sending this TV over and also offering to sponsor this video. As always though, all opinions are my own, and I particularly wanted to make this video because it is all about getting the best value for money. I should say though, if you are interested in maybe buying this TV or just finding out more, I have put a link in the description below. But what makes this stand out? Well, first of all, LG's QNED stands for Quantum Dot Nanocell LED. So it's building on their nanocell tech by adding a quantum dot layer, which boosts the brightness and the colors, and also adding mini LED backlighting. Now, I'm sure by now you're pretty familiar with mini LED TVs, but the idea is that we have thousands of LEDs lighting or backlighting the panel, whereas on a regular LED LCD you have a few hundred. We also have hundreds of dimming zones with this, again, far more than a regular full array backlit TV. And so altogether, it's a pretty big upgrade. The higher contrast, the higher brightness, peaking at 1000 nits, and also we get less blooming and overall a more uniform picture. Now, of course, this still can't match the self-lit pixels of an OLED TV and their near infinite contrast and super inky blacks. You can see in these super dark images that there is still some blooming and light bleed. But this is still a big step up over traditional LED TVs and even their older nanocell TVs. And particularly in HDR, whether it's a TV show, a movie, or you've got your PS5 or your Xbox hooked up, the picture on this thing is stunning. In dark scenes, you can of course tell it's not an OLED, and actually if you are interested, a 77-inch LG C1, again last year's model, costs about $300 more than this QNED. However, as well as being more expensive, it does not get as bright. And so if you are using the TV in a bright room, or if you are an idiot like me and putting the TV opposite a window, then that extra brightness is definitely going to come in handy. The only downside to this TV, and it is not unique to this TV, but as you can see, it is quite reflective. So keep that in mind when it comes to where you're going to place your TV. Speaking of which, while you can wall mount this if you prefer, I am using the stand. And as you can see, with this 75-inch model, even the bigger sizes can comfortably fit on pretty much any TV stand. And also, it sits high enough that there's room to put a soundbar underneath the screen, although it will need to sit on top of the 2 feet that protrude out the front. Around the back, we have 4 HDMI ports, 2 of which are the latest and greatest 2.1 spec, which gives you up to that full 4K 120 support, and one of these also supports eARC if you want to hook up an external soundbar or speaker system. The TV's built-in speakers are fine, but don't skimp on the sound. LG do offer a good range of soundbars, although personally I use a Sonos Arc. Now, the first thing I recommend doing when you've got your TV set up is to check that you have the latest software, and then I would suggest going into picture settings and turning off the motion processing, and also dropping the sharpness boost feature thing down to 0. We get the usual range of picture modes, but generally I stick to ISF Expert Bright or Dark, depending if I'm watching in the day or at night, but it will automatically switch to HDR, Game Optimizer, or Filmmaker modes depending on the source, so you really don't need to worry about it. Powering everything is LG's Alpha 7 Gen 4 AI processor 4K, again just rolls right off the tongue there, and that handles all the 4K upscaling and AI picture and sound modes, which you can actually turn off if you want, although I like to keep them on. It's funny, if you'd asked me like 5 years ago, what's the biggest TV you'd ever have in your house? I would say, well, maybe 55, 65 inches at a push, but no bigger than that, it just gets ridiculous. I've got a 75-inch here, there's a 77-inch in my actual living room as well, and now anything smaller feels too small. It's weird how we just get used to things getting bigger. Although I should say, if you do want a bigger model, there is an 86-inch version of this, which is frankly just ridiculously huge, which is also 8K and you get more dimming zones, so it is a higher end model. Now for gaming, this checks all the boxes. 4K, HDR, 120Hz, HDMI 2.1, and that's along with low response times and low input lag, auto low latency mode, and also VRR or variable refresh rate support. And also, thanks to a recent update for the PS5, it now also supports VRR like the Xbox does. And actually in games that properly support it, like Spider-Man Miles Morales, we're basically getting an uncapped frame rate, which is a pretty huge deal and does go some way to take advantage of the TV's 120Hz refresh. I do have one issue with this TV though. Going back to the full screen home dashboard, and actually even just navigating through the menus, all can feel a bit slow. And actually it is something I found is much faster on the newer models with the new Gen 5 processor. It's not exactly the end of the world, but it can get a bit frustrating. I think for most people, the 65-inch version of this is probably going to be the one that you'd want to go for. It is a fair bit cheaper at £1,500 and also, well, less massive. Now obviously this is not the only TV that is going to be discounted. They all get cheaper as the months go on, and particularly around Black Friday and big sort of holiday seasons. But if you want a big bright TV with a good picture quality that's great for gaming and, well, does everything you need, I reckon the QNED 91 is definitely worth considering, and I will leave a link in the description below if you fancy checking it out. What about you though? Are you a day one, shut up and take my money, I want the best of the best kind of person, or do you like to wait for deals or even buy second hand? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching guys, and I'll catch you next time right here on the Tech Chat.